Hello and welcome to another episode of Drop Frames. Cody, you know what episode it is?
73.
73. I actually looked
Four
today.
episodes since the joke.
We're at 245. We're 5 away from 250. I didn't realize we had done that many episodes. I guess when you don't count them, it just goes fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
245 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done 245 of anything. I guess maybe like eat chips or like jelly beans or something like that.
You probably had 245 chips in your life, I would wager.
Pop Pringles.
What if everything in your life was counted like that? If it was like, well, this is my 1347th steak. Let's see if it's as good as the first, you know? Someone should do that.
You know what's even more depressing? Imagine if it was a reverse count.
Oh, that would be. Oh,
no,
my
God.
No. That's a Black Mirror episode, Cohh. What are you doing?
No.
Ah!
You're going to have 34 more tacos in your life, and that's it.
Man.
Some people immediately look up like breathing and just get instantly depressed. It just says 12, and you're like, wait, what?
Dude, what? Man.
What? Are you serious? Because looking at it caused them to do it.
I mean, that really is. I can foresee a panic attack if you're just like, well, I only have so many breaths left. That's a Black Mirror episode, 100%. If they ever do any more Black Mirror, there you go. That's a new episode. A countdown to everything in your life. We'll give that
one for free. Yeah, that's a freebie.
Well, thanks for joining us for your daily dose of existential dread as I stumble through that word. Someone will figure it out. Rami, welcome to the show. Where do you fit on Halo Gate? We need to know, does Halo graphics look bad?
No, they look different, but I don't think they look bad.
Okay.
There's some shader stuff to do yet, but I like it.
All right. You've alienated 51% of your audience now. Good job.
I know. I'm very aware. It's a thing that happens frequently to me.
Oh, man. It's been, yeah. I don't even think they're calling it Halo Gate. I just named it that. The past week has been crazy with the Xbox conference. We all watched it and we're like, it was all right. And then 24 hours after, people are rioting in the streets for Xbox, not for the other stuff currently, but for Xbox, for and against it. It's been a long week for Xbox, I think.
Yeah, wild, because I watched it and I'm like, pretty good. It felt very much like the PlayStation one. Not a lot of gameplay, quite a bunch of trailers, but overall, I'm like, okay, I'll play these games.
Yeah. There was
the next day I wake up and it's just fire everywhere.
There's fire everywhere. Yeah. I read a couple articles that essentially Microsoft is no longer in the console gaming business and they're in the subscription selling business. I'm like, yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
Why sell someone a console when they already have a PC when then you can sell them a $15 a month subscription, right? That's a way to do business.
Hey, they keep the value of the Game Pass up, and more power to them. I'll keep singing the praises as long as they keep that value up.
Sorry,
if you calculate the numbers on that, it's wild. What do they have? 10 million subs?
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
15. He's paying $15 a month, no matter whether there's a game coming out or not. I can make some video games with that money.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I was distracted. I've had a JavaScript error occur. And it just happened again there on Rami. I don't know what's going to happen here when I hit OK, but I'm going to do it. The computer might explode. I think we're okay. I think everyone breathe. I think we're okay.
Still with us, Rami?
Rami?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah,
okay.
I'm here.
Oh God,
everyone's froze. Oh, dude, every bad story for a streamer starts with, I updated Windows, but that's essentially what I'm saying. I updated Windows and it's been giving me some issues, so I might have to downgrade. So seems everything's fine.
Funny that you mentioned that. My OBS is nowhere to be found now.
Just doesn't exist.
I tried to open it. I tried to look for it in the program files, and it's like, it couldn't be located, man. I don't know. And I'm like, what? It couldn't be located. Thankfully, I think I backed up my scenes and my files not too long ago. But that sucks.
Yeah.
That's I need all those things.
Yeah.
I like how Barry's in chat right now. Oh God, I hope that JS arrow isn't on any of my shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm real nervous right now. Just looking over at that other PC, just begging, hoping
That's
that nothing
almost
crashes.
as bad when you're just streaming like normal, and then all of a sudden that window sounds happens out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The window notification sound, which then immediately causes you to start scanning every monitor you have. Like, what was that? Was that OBS?
I
Was that a
think
plugin?
though.
What was that? My audio guy?
I think every streamer should have that on their. I think that should come pre-installed on Stream Decks, so that whenever you stream, you can just hit it randomly. Just hit the Windows error noise and just see what happens. You know,
you're a monster, but fair.
Yeah, exactly. It's every time that happened. Even when it happened just now, everyone looked in. I looked in chat, and everyone was like, "Wait, was that me? Was that stream?
Or
something come unplugged?"
Would be the USB disconnect sound. Doo-doo-doo.
Yes, that one's
just have that.
That one's
you just stress me out instantly with the Slack notification. Like I mean, like shit work.
Wait, what does the Slack notification sound like? I have that shit.
Like
I turn that shit off immediately.
It's sort of like a clicky sound. It's not great. It makes me immediately think of work. So it immediately makes me panic because I think somebody's like reaching out with like, your game is like deleting hard drives or something.
That would be bad. Yeah.
We have to insure ourselves against that stuff every now and then. Wild.
To not so your games don't delete people's hard drives?
Yeah, back when we were doing Flash games, we had to insure one of our Flash games for like $1 million of damages if we accidentally like damaged it. I emailed them back. I'm like, what do you think is happening? Like somebody in the Pentagon is going to play our game and we accidentally take down the Pentagon? Like we're not getting $1 million worth of insurance. Like we ain't doing that.
Now, is that just an indie thing because you're not protected by a whole team of lawyers, or are we talking like, does Blizzard Activision have insurance for crashing the internet?
I guess so, probably. Like, I ain't doing it, but they probably do.
Well, that's scary. It's a expensive gig for sure. Rami, go ahead.
You can break computers in some fascinating ways, though. It's real fun if you're a programmer.
I would think streamers know a lot of those, but they don't know why. They just know that the PCs have broken, but they don't know. Yeah, programmers know why sometimes.
We then get the email and we go like, "Did we not fix that? We didn't fix Can we restore their no? Okay, I'll send them an email that we're looking into it.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
That's our life, I think.
Streamers just get upset, and then they walk away off screen, and you hear some USBs unplugging and plugging back in, and then maybe a couple curse words, and then you come back and guess that worked, guys. Let's continue playing whatever we're playing. So, yeah, that's how it goes. If your USB's making that much noises, you got to be careful. That's too much noise. Too scary. Rami, what have you been up to recently? How you been? How's not traveling? Have you? I know the last time we talked, you said it was real fucking weird not traveling almost every single time, every weekend.
Is.
Yeah, still haven't gotten used to it.
Yeah. I mean, I have a bicycle now, so the Netherlands is a little nicer. Beyond that, though, no, it's still weird. Like I'm used to seeing a lot of the world in really short amounts of time, and now I don't. I've seen here. The Netherlands are pretty nice. I went hunting for photos of the comet the other day. That was nice because that thing is still out there.
Right.
Neowise, very pretty. Found some good spots around the city. So I'm getting used to the city. It's nice. We have some shops.
You've lived there how many years? And you finally went outside.
Pictures of the night sky and didn't get blinded by Elon? I thought that was the new thing.
Oh yeah, it is a thing, but I've so far avoided the satellite showcase because a little upsetting. Been playing lots of games. I've been playing I'm pretty much fully NDA'd about the new Flight Simulator Alpha, which I don't even
think you can talk about that you've been playing it.
No, I think probably not.
Yeah.
But it's very good, and I have been playing it. And if I get removed from the...
If I were to have been playing the same thing, I would probably say something similar, Rami, I would think.
Yeah. Well, the good news is if
like, also, that's up in like a day, so...
Given that they might remove me from the program after this, the beta starts in 2 days, so I'll be fine. I'll just join the beta.
Yeah, there you go.
Rami, that's not public information.
I like having Rami on the show
frequently.
I want them
scared I am frequently. That's something I'm saying is not public yet.
I want them to come at you like an Air Force, like what's it, like an admiral or something? They come at like, you're a loose cannon, Rami. You're gonna resign your commission right now. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, wait, I know how to say that without breaking NDA.
Okay.
So
you've already broken it, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, like, can we cut that part? Is that how?
Yeah, no, we're not. This is all. We don't stream our shows. This is all recorded.
So yeah, I've been using this thing, which has been great for a video game.
That's crazy. You've been playing Ghost of Tsushima with that. That's
no, it is incredible with this flight stick.
Yeah.
And I have been playing Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
So that has also been very good.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's use that as a jumping off point, because we talked. We had a guest last week where I just gabbed about esports the entire 3 hours. So we haven't had a chance to talk about Ghost of Tsushima. I was about to say Ghost of Esports. That's a game I want to play.
You just go and chop up some esports people.
I don't know what that. I don't know. Create it. You know. I just give you the name.
Standoff.
Yeah, I don't know what Ghost of Esports. Jeez. Anyways, just be like it'd be the games of yesteryear that the games of esports past. That's the side project there, the side book. Anyways, let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima. I've been reading a lot of your tweets, and I think I agree with most of them. And Cohh, we haven't actually talked about it at all. I know we have sent some text back and forth, but have you finished it yet, Rami? I think we might need to be careful about story spoilers, if so.
Yeah, I'm and I just finished Act 2.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So yeah, I'm in pain.
Yeah, they sure. The game gets really heavy sometimes, seemingly out of nowhere. I feel like that's the most like breaking chairs. Luckily, there's a new one out. Zeke can tell you about it later. There's. Are you sitting in it right now? Do you have your?
No.
Oh, you haven't unboxed it yet. Oh, okay. All right. That's
Nice.
That's tomorrow or later today or something. Ghost of Tsushima does this really interesting thing that I can't. Maybe like Ori does it somewhat, but it has this like unbelievably gorgeous world, right? Of just like picturesque thing. Just I want to frame every shot of that game at any moment. And then 5 seconds later, you're in a quest where someone just had their entire family brutally murdered in front of them, and they want to go get revenge. And then at the end of that quest, they die as well. So it's just like that confliction throughout the entire game, and somehow that works, right? Like it is both brutally gorgeous and brutally violent. Brutal. I think and just brutal across the board. And it works. Like it's one of the few games where I've seen that work.
I was talking to the creative director of the game yesterday about that very thing that because I tweeted something yesterday about like every side quest being the same thing, where like person A gives you a quest to talk to person B, and then you talk to person B and they tell you to go back to person A, and person A has been brutally murdered in the meanwhile.
Yeah. And
then person B gives you the moral of the story. And I think that like, I feel it works, but the thing about Ghost of Tsushima, I think it's genuinely just like, what is it? Like in Dutch, you would call it a hutspot. Like it's like
a what?
It's like this, like it's a blend. It's like if you blend ingredients,
hodgepodge.
So a hodgepodge. If you take every good game design idea from the last from 2013 to 2018. You throw it in a blender, you blend it, and then whatever comes out, you like season it just right. That's Ghost of Tsushima, because literally everything is in there. It's preposterous. It's
sure.
Like, I was like, okay, where does every mechanic you can go? Where does this come from? Like this arrow thing. If you have this is one of my favorite missions because this is my favorite armor in the game. But like slow motion arrows, right? Horizon Zero Dawn, you got right there. It's in a bunch of other games as well, but like it feels everything can be traced back to like this is the summary of game design for the past 5 years.
It's the summary of the generation.
Yeah, that's it. You want to know what happened when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One were like the thing? Just play this game, you're done. Like, you know everything. Like there's like a bunch of climbing, a bunch of free running. Like there's there's little mechanics for like engagement. There's a lot of like encampments that you can approach whatever way you want. There's like a morality story where you can choose between being an angel and like war crimes. There's like it's literally like this is the generation. Like they just did everything. I kind of love it because it feels very very comforting.
Yeah,
very, very comfortable game. Except when they go like everybody dies.
Yeah, for sure. It gets real brutal out of nowhere.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we had that discussion many times throughout the game. And I think that the premise you just mentioned can be distilled down to the combat system being a good example. You've got like Dark Souls style dodging. You've got Sekiro style parry mechanics. You've got Neo style stance switching. You've got the tool use of a game like Tenchu from back in the day. You've got like the action elements of so many other, like they really did pick and choose so many different things. Like people kept coming into the stream while I was playing it and being like, hey, what would you compare the combat system to? And my default answer towards the end of it would just be, is all of them an answer? Like it's
all the games.
I mean, it does a little of everything. Like
Yeah.
it really does. Like it tries to incorporate all these different things in one. It even has range combat. It has bullet time. I mean, you could just like keep going down the list of like things that is somehow kind of jammed into its package. So yeah, it's pretty wild, man, and it somehow all works.
That's the big surprise,
especially when you get it down.
Yeah,
like it really works. Like yeah, and one thing that I've heard and it's interesting because I was definitely on both sides of the fence because like a lot of people have given the game a lot of criticism over the stance switching and how it's very paper rock scissories and not knowing what you're doing. And for the beginning of the game, I definitely had more trouble with it. But when I then realized that it was paper rock scissors, it's basically paper rock scissors with the triangle button. So like, and that's about it. Like as long as the triangle button, if you're in the right stance, does like huge amounts of stagger damage against the proper paper rock scissors alternate. And it makes the game phenomenally easier. Like it really does. Like it almost drops the difficulty in terms of, I'm interested in trying it on lethal now. But if you don't do that, I've watched streamers that have kind of like ignored it and it looks so much more difficult. It becomes Sekiro essentially, because then everything's about the parry. Everything comes down to just making sure you're always parrying attacks, just like you would in Sekiro.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's not necessarily a wrong way to play. It's just a different way to play.
I think that's it. I have found there's very few moments where there's a wrong one. And I like the stance switch. Like I think a lot of what I appreciate about the game design-wise is that they're using a lot of tricks to hide that they're doing known stuff. Like the stances are just weapons, right?
Yeah.
It's like you use this gun against this guy. You use like Doom Eternal does the same. Like that's how it works. There's a right way of fighting enemies, but the game is very lenient. It's an extremely lenient game in most ways. Like you get killed, okay, you go back 25 seconds. Like, sure. Like everything feels like fun. Like I chase foxes for hours in this game. Like this is my entertainment now. I'm just like, oh hey, there's Fox Buddy. Let's go after the Fox Buddy.
Foxes are fun.
I've barely opened the map.
Really?
Open the map.
I fell into very quickly, which I think is this is all in the plus column for me. But I fell very quickly into the tricks of an open world game where it was like, oh, this fox. Oh, where's this? Oh, there's a bird. What's this bird? Oh, that's okay. Let's see this haiku. Okay. Well, I need to go get that. Oh, got to fight this guy because he wants to fight me. And I could get like, it was just literally ping ponging between a billion things. And before I knew it, I like finished the entire first map before I got to Act 2. Like 30 hours or 20 hours in. And I have everything maxed out. Like the weapons are fully upgraded before I even hit Act 2. And that to me is like a sign of a good open world. Yeah.
Did you open the map for that, or is 90% of the time just chasing the wind? Because that's what I'm doing. Like 90%
a little bit of both.
Like,
it depends. Like some things are better than others. Some things were more fun than others. I really like the haiku stuff. Like it's not really gameplay. It's like, all right, move your directional stick and press X on this because you like the way that those words sound, and then do that 3 times in a row. Then the character will voice that stuff, and you'll get a pretty cool looking image, and then that's that. But it's great.
Did you ever write a haiku that when you read it back, you're like, "Oh, that was actually really bad." I'm a little embarrassed. I had that like twice, right? This beautiful. Like,
Well, the thing with the haiku,
it's like, oh.
The thing with the haikus for me is they felt a little bit like I was seeing a fortune teller, where like they say things loosely enough that you can pull in your own story threads and put your own narrative to whatever the words are saying. And so every time that would happen, I'd be like, yeah, this is, acceptance or something like that. Whatever the haiku is called. It's like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. So that was the best part about it, is like, that must have been a pretty difficult job to write those haikus with 9 different choices per haiku that were all still somewhat relatable to like the main thread of whatever that was, like acceptance or forgiveness, or there was one about death that was really like, we were talking about the show starting off with like a really depressing, the one about death was fucked up.
Yeah.
It was bad, but it was great as well.
It's 27 choices, right? 3 times 3 times 3. Yeah.
Well, yeah, 27 potential combinations, but 9 total choices, right? Yeah.
It's kind of like, I think what I like about the game is that because it is many things, it's easy to find a thing you like. Like, I've talked to people that really like the duels. I've met people
They're
who
great.
really like, or the sneaking ghost weapons. I like people who like, so one thing that really got me with the game is I grew up Muslim, right? Arab dad. And there's some pretty strict like life like code involved in that. So I kind of like connected with Jin, like the main character, over that. Like having this sort of like very strict code, but living in a world in which that code doesn't quite work all the time.
Right.
And seeing that conflict play out is really nice to me, or at least like recognizable, I guess. For me, that connected really well. But like photo mode connected well with me. But running into camps fighting, like, yeah, it's fine. It's good combat. I like it, but it's not something like I'll write about. It's just good times. These standoffs are great, though. Did they get really hard for y'all too?
They started throwing in fakes, especially as the game progresses. They do more and more fakes. And I don't know if it was the same for you guys, but whenever it was the twisted spear guys with the little shields, if I had to spar off against them first, I 90% of the time just fuck it up somehow. Like their animation would bait me so much that I would mess it up so often. They were the only ones that really gave me trouble, but it was great. Every time I did it, I felt super powerful.
Just ghost dance.
Go ahead.
I also have to say I fuck up like 90% of the fights because I'm like, photo mode. And then I'm like in a photo. Like I fucked up so many standoffs because I tried to photo and then forgot that when I press circle, I have to be holding triangle. Because the standoff mechanic is hold triangle, and if you exit photo mode without holding triangle, you just try to cut them and you get cut in the face.
Yeah.
I think my main reason of game over is misjump or photo mode.
Yeah. The photo mode really is
a little bit of a backseat gaming for everyone out there. And I learned the tiniest tip, and ever since then it made it so much easier. Don't look at the person. Stare at his feet. Because they don't move their feet. And they only move their feet when they do their attack. So if you just stare at their feet, you won't even notice they're fainting. The second you see their feet move, then that's when you let it go.
Huh. So I never looked at their feet.
Literally today, I figured that one out. Like 2 hours ago, I was playing and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop staring. Because I was thinking of Animal Crossing. And I'm like, I never do the fishing based on sight. So I started looking if there were other cues, and I figured out the feet.
Yeah, for me, I started looking.
I'm very proud.
The camera does like a soft zoom right before it is about to go, so that's what I eventually looked. I never looked at their feet once, so it's funny enough that that's like the actual biggest tell. But for me, it was always the camera stuff. And I think, you know, you were talking about like their feet never move. I think we can use that as a jumping off point to talk about the animations in this game are probably like some of the best that I think I've seen in a very long time. They're so subtle,
They're nice.
but they work so well. The biggest one for me in particular that is just, I think it like feeds into that power fantasy that you expect from like a character that gets more and more badass over the course of the entire game. When you win some of those duels and he goes to like sheath his blade, but he cleans the blood off first, there's a flick that he does with his sword where he flicks it like that, just in his wrist real quick, and it flicks the blood all the way down on the ground. That like little move, every time it did that, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty badass. I just flicked my blade. Because you can also like forcibly swap your hand across the touchpad or whatever, but when he does that little flick at the end of a duel, it was every time he did, it's fucking badass. And that
Speaking
goes,
of the game making you feel badass,
yeah,
I started getting in the habit of doing that after every time I clear an area.
100%.
Just like flick on the little pad, go, and every time I just be like, yeah.
Dude, I would bow after the duels. I would bow and be like, yeah, I bowed. You know, I'm a master samurai. I have respect for the other guy I just murdered.
So is this
Pretty
something that is just me? Does it feel like enemies get more scared if you walk slowly? I have a feeling that if you walk towards them slowly, they tend to back off faster.
There is like a terror mechanic that might just be triggering at your point in the game. But yeah, I
remember reading something about that on Reddit. Yeah. Especially as you get later into the game. So, because I maybe there's even some passives that affect that as well. But also there's like entire passive abilities you can get that increase like the chance to terror or frighten people. So
yeah.
maybe there's like hidden triggers to get that chance or something if you're walking. I don't know, but it is. I mean, it's crazy. There's a great clip of Dan's gaming who he makes a bunch of people frightened, and he just goes crazy with. He's just like, like everyone's just cowering on the ground.
It's
He's
great.
walking slowly by them. Man, it's awesome.
It does what I think a lot of other open world games failed to do, and it's the idea of they introduce things slowly enough that like you feel really badass at the start of the game just because of what you're doing. And then you get like a standoff mechanic where you get one more standoff, or you get a new ability that lets you like the terrorize mechanic where it has like a little AoE terrorize. And then there's stuff even later on in the game that effectively you just turn into an outright badass. And like, you haven't seen it yet, Rami, so I'm not going to spoil it for you, but other things open up even in Act 3 that you feel even more badass from. And they never really stop introducing that stuff in terms of like the pacing of the gameplay. So I never really felt like I never got into a combat and just like, oh, fuck, we have to do more combat. It was always like, all right, let's get through this. Let's kill 5 people. We're going to start with a showdown. We're going to kill 5 people. Then I'm going to go bow mode and I'm going to kill every single person before I come out of the like bullet time thing. And that was the goal. Then I started doing that. It's like, all right, well, I've done that enough. Let's try to stealth kill everyone this time. They really mixed it up a lot. It was great.
I feel a lot of the two things that I think the game does really well is the way you open up the world map. The fog of war mechanic is pretty much flawless, right? Like the density of items, the way certain objectives will open up the map when you want. But if you're just running around, the bird might just show up and you just follow that. Like there's always something to do, which is, I think the last game that got it this right was Just Cause 2. Because everything you ended up in was just like, oh, I get to blow up this place in like absolutely preposterous, spectacular ways. The other thing I think is agency. Like you have full agency to engage with something or disengage with something, but they've made that a very like intentional choice. The standoff mechanic is great.
Yeah.
Because you're just walking around and you see the standoff thing, and you're like, well, yo, you want to fight? Like it's just like whether I'm stealthing around or like I'm just going to a place, I'm like, well, I'm going to yell at these fuckers and I'm going to slice them up. Like every time.
Yeah.
Just having it like, I'm still trying to figure out my my full thoughts on why this game works, but it works. Like there's no way around it. This is one of the most working games I've played in a very long time, where it's just like, it clicks, it works.
It's also remarkable too, the fact that it is an open world game of its size. And I think I maybe ran into like 3 bugs over the course of like a 40+ hour playthrough. I don't know if you guys had similar results as well, but like I would run into like a scripting issue where the guy wouldn't move forward, and that happened once, and I had to just literally like restart the quest. And then there was one where I was playing off stream, and like a guy did, he did like one of those knockback shoulder charges, and it just sent my guy flying straight up into the air, like 100 feet or some shit, and it got like 1 FPS as I fell down and then died. But apart from that, I never really had any issues. I don't. Did you guys have similar experiences?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
similar. I like
Very few bugs.
the main one I had is I headshot a guy as he was jumping down a building, and his body landed on a fence and then just kept like saltoing in midair for like the next 30, 40 seconds. I just kept shooting arrows at him. It was great.
Yeah, you got to take them out. That's what Cohh just did right there became my default. I've learned that there's actually people have their own way of entering doors. Cohh slashing that door is how I would open them. Someone would walk through and shut the door behind them, and I would just slash through and walk right through.
Oh yeah,
It's always hilarious.
That's the only way to open doors in Ghost of Tsushima is you slice them open. Anytime you go to someone's house,
Yeah.
anytime you're in an area, and especially when there's 3 doors next to each other, you need to make sure to hit each one as they're going through.
I saw one that might be
kind of
better,
respect-
Cohh. Someone was kicking doors open, and that was pretty cool. The idea of kicking a door open is, I never did that.
Yep.
But they wouldn't just kick the same door or kick a door, then go out that one. They'd kick that door, talk to the person, and then kick a different door.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Kool-Aid man the whole way through. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was really, so slashing doors is cool, but I think kicking doors might be cooler once you unlock the kicks.
Meanwhile, in
Picture like
Carrion,
Leonidas from
as a
300
giant-
just like going through every single door, just "Bwah, bwah."
Yep, pretty much. Go, we're cutting you off all day today here. It's the cutoff show.
it's fine.
What were you saying
I was
about
gonna
Carrion?
say, meanwhile, in Carrion, as a giant amorphous like monster, blood-sucking, human-destroying monster, I would push myself up against doors and slowly open them, make sure everyone was okay on the other side, and then just barrel through them from that way. Yeah, I don't know why that worked that way, but it definitely did.
What are you trying to do to this
okay.
bell? Were you just trying to ring it?
I was trying to hit it. I was seeing if there was
Okay.
like I could trigger it, or maybe there's a use on it or something. So
Gotcha. What were we gonna say,
There
Zeke?
So I just picked this up. I bought it, and I probably like 4 or 5 hours in. And I let me ask you, a couple of questions. By the time I had it, like first time I was gonna play it, they had already patched in the what's the hardest difficulty now?
Lethal mode or something like that?
Lethal. There you go.
Yeah.
They just patched in lethal, and I tried it, or I'm trying it right now. I'm wondering if I should play through or just start playing through it on the hard rather than the lethal. There's a lot of restarting with the lethal mode because they hit you once with a sword or twice with an arrow
Are you
at
dead?
the beginning of the game, and you're fucking toast. You're done.
Huh.
Yeah. So basically, if you miss a parry or a block or a roll or a dodge or whatever, you are dead. You're dead.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but my thoughts on that are the beginning of the game was the hardest part. As soon as you start getting more stuff, you become like the power curve is like this towards the end of the game, and then at the end you're just killing like 30 people plus in like 10 seconds.
Okay.
specifically, there are a few armor types.
Yeah.
And if you get those armor types and get them upgraded, like it becomes, it's like lowering the difficulty in a lot of ways.
So you're saying I
Like,
could
there's-
push through and be fine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially
Pretty
with your
quickly.
skill level, absolutely. I mean, there's armor sets that are like massive increase to health, moderate decrease to damage received. So like it's basically there's like a heavy armor like Dark Souls style variant of making the game a lot more manageable.
I literally am using the arrow armor, and I barely have to fight ever because as long as you pull off headshots, you get slow mo back.
Dude. I think it's the most broken armor in the game. Once you unlock
So
tier
good.
4, it's so strong. And I didn't find that till the very end, unfortunately.
I just got the arrow. I just got the bow. So I think I'm realizing that more and more that it's probably going to be a ranged kind of thing for me to start. because it's so much easier to just plink off guys
Like,
with the arrows than it is to like stand and face like 2 or 3 of them, especially since like you miss one block and you're done for.
Yeah.
And also like I do try to like do one-on-one things. So I'm like, okay, I can dodge that red attack. Okay, parry, do that. But honestly, I found like even with hand-to-hand combat, the way it worked best for me was just like absolute aggression, like run in, slice one guy, run out again. See, like it's like a cheetah like mentality. Like you see the one straggler that's away from the pack.
Yeah.
You run over to him, swah, swah,
Yeah.
and you run back. See the next one, run to that. Standing and fighting, it doesn't seem like it's way more difficult.
There are ways to make the game harder, and that's one of them, right? To like just walk into a base and aggro everyone. Is the quote more honorable path, but it's harder.
It's so good that they did that, though. It's so like it makes me so happy that gameplay and narrative line up, like sort of like the tension of being honorable, being impossible in these circumstances. I mean, later on, it's not impossible.
But that's the thing I do. Like I go up, I do the standoff thing. I get the first guy and I go, shah! And then all the other guys come like attack me. And then I kind of like kite and run around a little bit until one comes out a little bit further. And then I whack that guy.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel right. It doesn't feel like a stealth game to me. Like immediately, like you can, obviously there's stealth aspects to it. And you can be like a ghost the entire time or whatever. But the way the character made you feel, he was like, no, you call him out first. You call out the guy first. And then you deal with the rest of them. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like the way to do it. So I've been doing it that way. Yeah. And I found that, like, yeah, I can't take them all on at once. I'm like, I'll take this guy. Come get me. Chase me.
The thing about this game that I think is very cool is listening to you talk. I remember that's how I felt at the start of the game. But it very subtly, very slowly starts like pulling you in other directions and like changing the way you approach things. This game gets better the more you talk about it. That's cool.
For sure. Well,
I will say,
yeah.
I is there a lock on that I'm missing? There's no lock on, right?
There's soft lock on. There's not a hard lock on, but it will like.
There's no hard lock on system at all.
And that. Right. I struggle with that at the very beginning, and I think almost everyone struggles with that. But once you start to understand how to like manipulate it in your favor, or to just literally be so reactive to everything because you become so deadly that it only takes like one fuck up on their end, it starts to be fine.
Yeah, I'm just watching Cohh right now. I'm like, I'm not even like, I don't have anything yet. Well, I got nothing.
Yeah, you get so many fucking tools to do so many different things. And like you can approach the fight. I did an entire camp. We're talking like 30 plus
Sometimes
people.
You get shot in the back though.
Those shotgun guys suck. Yeah, those shotgun guys really suck. I did an entire camp, 30 people. I threw 2 firecrackers in the center of the camp. Everyone came in, and then I lobbed 4 black powder bombs, upgraded to tier 3, and killed them all in 3 seconds. And I never, like, it cleared the camp. And it's the most unhonorable shit thing to do because you never see these people and they never see you as well. But you just get so powerful in that sense that you can approach it in so many different ways.
When you're the last samurai, who's going to call you out, dude? Like, nobody. That's who.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But
fair enough.
Yeah, you can just AoE farm people. By the way,
fuck those dogs.
Fuck the dogs. Fuck dogs in video games. I'm tired of fighting dogs. Last of Us 2 had terrible dogs. This game has terrible dogs.
Hate
look
dogs.
at Cohh just chase this guy.
I'm just trying to kill this damn dog, man. Like, oh my god, it's so frustrating.
I do the same thing too, man.
I just bow and arrow every dog I see, slow motion. Dogs go first. The amount of time a single dog has fucked up my streak.
Yeah,
is like 1 kill away from getting my stance, and I'm just like, you know what? Every dog I see dies first.
Dude, they suck so bad. They suck.
So
hard.
A little bit of a side thing. I've been watching a lot of the Dog Whisperer lately. I used to watch a little bit of it back in the day, but I've been watching it on Disney Plus with Dog Whisperer with Caesar Milan.
Yeah.
And every time I hear I got puppies. I'm watching dog shows. Like I've gotten more sensitive. Like I just want because I just finished Last of Us 2, so there were dogs in that one. I want there to just be like I want to walk up to them and just not look at them, show them I'm superior to them. Wait till they calm down. Turn my side to them to show them that I mean them no harm. And then bend down and have them smell me like a dog. And then they'll be my dog from then on. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
And then they'll piss on your leg. And then we're all good.
Yeah.
Mark the territory.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Like, let's see. Fuck you. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like the animals are kind of the weirdest thing about the game. The more I think about it, like the dog, they needed a fast sort of disruption enemy, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's what the dogs are most being.
Yeah, that
like the bears. What is up with the bears?
They're a joke. They're a pushover. Like I think that might be one of my complaints about the game is that the enemy variety and, like you said, that like a bear shouldn't go down in one arrow, right? Like it's a fucking bear. Like you should be running from bears 5 hours into the game and 50 hours into the game. It's a bear, right?
Yeah,
you have to be scared of that.
I started to appreciate them a little bit because if you use a flame arrow, it literally looks like my game company logo. So like, I'm okay with that. Like I just light bears on fire now and then take screenshots.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what they meant, but
probably not.
Yeah. I think what they're doing with the weather is sort of a narrative thing where the weather gets darker.
I've read that a couple times. Yeah, people in chat have been repeating it. Where like if you're more on the ghost side, there's more storms, but if you're more honorable, it's more clear skies. I don't know if that's necessarily real.
I think it's bullshit. Like I think the mechanic is there. I think it's a bad mechanic. Like the amount of times I'm just walking, so like I pick up I use my flute like 25 times an hour just to get the weather back to normal, and then 5 seconds later it's like thunderstorms again. I'm like, listen, I'm using this flute for a fucking reason. Like, pick up on the fucking end.
You don't like the thunderstorms?
No, I like the thunderstorms every once in a while. Just continuously thunderstorms. I'm like, why the fuck are we saving this island? The weather is shit. Let's go elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think Act 2, my memory serves as Act 2 having more storms than Act 1. Act 1 was pretty clear skies, and then Act 3 is something completely different. And so I think that might just be tied to the act, but yeah, it was fine though. I enjoyed how gorgeous the rain and like seeing the thunderheads rolling in the background. Like it might be one of this game probably has the most moments of me kind of comparable to Ori. But I think even more pretty than Ori. I would just like stare off and be like, man, let me just stare at this real quick, guys. There's a thunderhead rolling in. I'm just gonna
that happened so many times for me in this game. Didn't even need to be a storm. I just like be up on the side of a mountain or be coming up into like a new kind of centerpiece area, and I would just kind of go down to a walk and just slowly pan my camera from left to right or right to left and just be like, whoa.
Yeah.
And one of the most fun parts of the game for me, when there was a storm and you play a little flute to clear it, sit there and pan the camera around you while you do it. Just slowly pan the camera around, looking up at the sky.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So good.
It's really
so good.
It's really good. It's the only game where I've actually removed all of my like streaming capture cards and all that shit and just gone straight into the monitor so that when I'm not streaming, I can play it in 4K HDR. Cause it just like it's remarkable. Just drop dead gorgeous. And then I'd have to
beautiful.
The software HDR replication is really bad in OBS. So if you try to use it, it basically makes the game, it puts the gamma down to like 0.2 and you just can't see shit. And all the colors look a little bit washed out. So you have to turn it off. But it's gorgeous. Like it's drop dead gorgeous. This is one of the haikus. If you've never seen this game, you can kind of see what happens here at the end. in terms of just the scenic stuff that it provides.
Okay.
I get so stressed when I don't know what the subject is. I'm like, oh fuck, I missed the subject. What am I writing about? It's a frictionless game, right?
Yeah.
Like after all of these games, after Red Dead Redemption, like being such a beautiful open world game, but everything you do is so hard. I've just run past some shit and I just press the R2 button and now I've picked up the flowers 10 feet away. And I'm just like, I'm so happy that everything is so simple.
Yeah.
Like everything is accessible with 1 or 2 button presses. Nothing takes time. Like I do a little back walk whenever I go by a fox shrine because I always overrun it, but the game just like moonwalks you back to the fox shrine as long as you press the button nearby. Like
yeah, and you can fast travel to everything, and we
even if you haven't been there.
Yeah, if you've just seen it, if you've discovered like whenever I would pop for shrines, I would pop over to a shrine and see it for the first time. Instead of like finding the entrance to that, which sometimes could be a little bit hard, I would just fast travel to the shrine. It would put me right there at the start. Which leads me to the next thing to praise the game. Rami, how do they make this game load so fast?
Fucking magic is what it is. Like
I never had load times longer than like a handful of seconds.
If you use the camera mode and you use the focal length, you can kind of see some of the stuff they're doing. Like it seems like the areas themselves are relatively small, and they're just loading relatively small parts of the game, I guess. But even then, like
you don't know.
I've not seen anybody pull this off this well, but like the few times it breaks, if you really push against it, even those are super. Like you can see like lighthouses that are like 300 meters away. If you use the photo mode and you use the focal length mode, you can see them change LOD. I think the game uses relatively small areas and like just really smartly has points of switching, but even then, like the load is like it genuinely makes no sense to me. Like if they're doing this, we don't need the PS5. Like let's skip that stuff. Like just make all games this way and we're done.
If anything, it had me more excited for the next gen, right? Like if it's loading this fast at the end of the generation, like it's going to be absurd what they can pull off from like a gameplay perspective, not necessarily just actual loading times, because I think those are going to go away. There was an article that I think like a day or two after the game shipped that said that they actually had to lengthen artificially the load time so that they could put the little help menus up there.
I saw that, yeah.
And it's like, come on, dude, you're just showing off now, right?
we actually did the same for Nuclear Throne, which is funny. When I read that, I'm like, I know that trick.
Do those random tangent? Do those actually get used? Do players actually read those tips more often than not on loading screens, or do they read their phone?
I know I do.
Yeah.
I think it's good for re-tutorializing, which is something that we've traditionally been pretty bad in games, like reminding people of things they might have forgotten when they haven't played the game for a while. They're very good for that, and I think over the past few years you've seen a lot more games add that, and we're going to have to find a new solution if loading times are going away. Like we just got used to this, and it's like, no more loading times.
Yeah.
I feel like Uncharted has always been, basically anything Naughty Dog does is really good at re-tutorializing, which I've always very much appreciated about the studio. Like watching my mom play Uncharted Amongst Thieves, like every time she didn't remember a button, the game would go like, hey, have you tried, pressing this button? And it always worked. Like either Nate would say something about like what he was supposed to do, or there would just be a prompt. I feel Tsushima does that pretty well as well. Like if you're in the wrong stance fighting an enemy very long, eventually it'll force you into the other stance.
That actually pissed me off a couple times.
I hated that actually.
Yeah,
I hated that.
I think it's a very good trade-off though. Like, well, it might not feel fun for people that intentionally are in the wrong stance.
But that's the thing. Like, well, a lot of times, for instance, I would have a lot of trouble with spear guys. So if I came up into a fight and I saw 2 spear guys on the periphery and a shield guy, then I would purposefully keep myself in the spear stance and just focus on dodging and parrying the shield guy. So to be like hyper focused on the spear dudes, managing the shield guy, and then all of a sudden my game slows down to a crawl. It's like, you're in the wrong stance there, big guy. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I did it on purpose. So it's like, it's really like, it's a good idea. But I feel like it would have been a lot better as like a little thing on the side of the screen that didn't stop your gameplay. Like a little thing like, hey, by the way, you're in the wrong stance. And it's like, I know. And then you can just keep playing instead of being like, you need to change the stance now because we said so. Like,
I think the reason they do that is because it turns out the only people that have time to read the shit on the side are the people who already get it.
Sure.
Right? The people that are overwhelmed, they're not looking at the text on the right. They're getting smacked around by a shield guy.
Well, I think it also...
But you should be able to turn it off, I guess. Options will be good.
Yeah, exactly. Make it a toggle. Make it so it's like, a little thing in the bottom right where it's like, if you don't want this, go to your options, or something like that. So the first time it makes it very clear. Like, don't tell me, I know.
Game slows down to a stop. It's like, hey, you saw this notification, you didn't like that? Go to the options menu, and it forces you into the option menu.
For me, it was just so jarring because the entire game is, I feel like almost from like a design philosophy, was just minimal. Like the HUD goes away when you're not tracking a quest. There is no HUD, right? And so for when you get in combat and that stuff to just slowly like bring your game to a halt, and then like you need to change into the moon stance. It's like, no, I want to stay here, man. Don't make me do this. It's like, we're not going to let you play unless you hit this button. It's like, fine, I'll go to moon stance, but I'm going right back to rock stance. It's like almost immediately. Just exactly what you guys are saying. Give me a way like to opt out of that the first time it happens, and then it's fine. That would be a very good fix for sure. But
I mean, I feel like if anything, this generation we figured out that options are good.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
It's a good thing this generation. Like,
we'll when we talk about when we talk about Grounded later, we'll talk about a really good option that they added in. If you've been watching the game, I think there's a great option in that one. But
speaking of options,
we'll talk about the two. Go ahead, Zeke.
I played like the first 3 hours of this game with HDR on. I was like, and I didn't realize like I put it on it's in my bedroom on my TV.
Yeah.
So it's not like on like a really nice monitor or whatever. But I sat there and was like, man, what the fuck are these people talking about? The oranges are way too orange. The blues are way too blue. What is going on here? And then I went back to the option. I was like, HDR. That should be. And I turned it off. I went,
You didn't like HDR on?
No. Not on the TV I have.
Oh, okay. It's a TV thing, not a HDR thing.
Oh yeah, no. It's because my Vizio is a slight bit older and it doesn't react well with it.
it's an HDR 400 instead of a HDR 1000 or whatever the fucking HDR
like
TV bullshit thing that they've invented. It's just real ridiculous.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I've done a lot of research into HDR. So,
real quick, they did this. I just wanted to mention this because I think it's worth mentioning. They did this game with English voice acting in mind, right? It was all like, okay.
It's lip sync to English.
Yeah.
That's weird to me. A
lot of people feel that way.
It's not bad voice acting. Like English is. I haven't actually tried it in Japanese yet because I wanted to start it like the way it was like made to be played. But it is very. It's a little strange to see that like taking place in Japan, samurai, the era of samurais and stuff like that. Like, and just to see them, speak a lot of times with like a slight accent.
I agree with you. I think it's an easy thing to say, like they're American devs and that's why, but I think they're American devs and that's why. And it's like, I don't know, that's a bad excuse, but I think that's the excuse.
Yeah.
I honestly think so. Like I said, I had a few conversations with some of the developers. So I don't have details on this one, but I feel like this is not their choice.
You think it's a Sony choice?
I think it came from somewhere else. Like,
sure,
because it makes so little sense when you think about it. Everything in the game is built around being very sincere and genuinely Japanese, right? Like they've done a lot of effort to make sure, even though it's not like historical and like they're taking a lot of freedoms, but when you think about it, like even the Kurosawa mode, like everything there screams they wanted this to be sincerely Japanese, and then this one thing just being not that. I don't know if certain things came in later in development, or if there was a requirement to like do the lip syncing in English first, or I don't know what happened. I don't know if that was a tech thing or a company thing or a corporate thing.
Yeah.
But it feels like a strange choice, right? Especially for a game that's so coherent and so consistent.
The quality of the voiceovers in English definitely seemed like it wasn't only algorithmical, but it looks like there were many chances when they went back, like fine-tuned them. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a resource thing, because I mean, when they're already completely appropriating Japanese culture, you know, the least they could do is sync up the mouse. At the end of the day, like if they'd want to do that. I'm kidding, of course. They'd of course I think want to do that. Like in a perfect world, every language localization would have everything properly syncing up for a much more immersive game. I mean, this game is crazy immersive, but at the same time, like there's such a high quality of how it's done in English, especially for some of the cutscenes. And since those are all done pretty much in engine anyway, I would be surprised if it wasn't just a resource issue.
Yeah.
Because that'd be like probably in some cases doubling the time. I mean, obviously it's not all done by hand, but some of that is really, really well done, especially with the pacing and how it lines up and everything. I don't. Yeah,
but it's obviously like somebody made the call. So somebody made the call, right? Like, which one do we lip sync? Do we lip sync the English one, or do we lip sync the Japanese audio track? And they went with English, and it feels like a strange choice for a game that pushes pretty hard on like this is Japanese.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It just feels very weird to have a game set in Japan with Japanese characters voiced by Japanese voice actors that then lip syncs to the English dub. Which I know it's technically a Japanese dub.
It makes you go, who was this game made for? I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like, yes, it's an entire Japanese game, but I mean, Sucker Punch, you know, American company, well known in America, like this was a game made for NA people. Like, it was made for this audience, even though it's completely set in another environment. So, I mean, it's almost like, can you imagine, like, especially with all the promotion and stuff, if it had come out and only been in Japanese dub, with the amount of people that were going to be playing it in like the English. Yeah, like I think that would have been a lot more of an issue than it is right now, talking about that it's not in Japanese.
It would have been more of a monetary issue, right? Like that would have been a hurdle for people buying the game, I think, because if some people,
and also I think it'd be an interesting discussion to have it be like, you know, there's no English dubs in a game that was made by an English company for, you know, all of like this an English audience, essentially, like in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
but I think for me, the consideration isn't the dub. Like, I think they should have both dubs. I think the lip sync is what's weird. Like, choosing to lip sync to English.
Oh, for sure. That's all we're talking about.
Yeah, the lip sync's the issue at large.
Lip sync
for sure.
in particular.
Yeah.
Like, of course, you have an English dub in a game made for international audiences, but if you do Kurosawa mode, and you have this beautiful, like, black and white rendition of the game, like Japanese only, but the lip sync is in English, it's like,
yeah.
Where in the creative process? I wonder where the creative decision. You know what? I'm just gonna ask this, and if I'm allowed to talk about it next time I'm on the show, I'll let you know what.
Just tweet it out. Don't wait till next time on the show.
No. I'm gonna get shit if I tweet it out because they can find that easier. Like, should I say? Like, I'm pretty sure if anybody from Asobo from Flight Simulator is watching, I'm sorry for breaking NDA earlier.
It's fine.
You're making a great game.
You got to stop going back to it, man. It's like, guys, remember that dog I killed? Let's talk about it one more. He's right there.
They were okay with this
that
before that comment. Now it's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, an interesting thing though, like, and this actually just something I randomly thought about. Is there like a chance it could be just straight technical reason? Like, I'm sure there's people whose specific job is to do lip syncing animation. You know, I wonder if it's the kind of thing where it's like, maybe they took a jab at doing it in a language that they weren't fluent in, and a director looked at it and was like, "Oh, stick to English." No. You know, maybe like, I don't know enough about those jobs to know if that's like a big thing. But I mean, I wonder how hard it would be to be a non-Japanese speaker trying to lip sync Japanese properly.
Yeah, I mean,
since it was made by an American company. I mean, granted, you could just hire more people or contract it out, but you know, for a game of this scale, that could be something that may not be so easy to do.
I honestly. Rami, you have to help lead this discussion here because we're not game devs, but it's probably easier in a game like, I guess I'll say Witcher, where for a large part of the conversations, it's two player models kind of bouncing back and forth. I feel like in this game, it's much more, hate saying this word, it's much more like cinematic, and there's so much more motion in terms of the English words being said that are tied to like physical acts in terms of what's happening on the screen. So that might be why it was just so much harder to do in Japanese, because then you literally have to go and re-rig all of that animation to fit with the cadence of a Japanese conversation.
Yeah,
right?
I think part of that is probably like I don't know where the decision got made, but I do feel like the resources, as Cohh was pointing out, like that's probably the big issue here. Is like it was hard to do or hard to do right. English was easier to get right, and they probably mocap the English voice actors.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume, and then the Japanese ones remotely. If they were in Japan, I don't know about the voice actors here.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But it's probably something like that. I'll let you know if I'm
Cool.
allowed to speak about it next time. I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
it'll
If
be
not,
interesting.
I'll just break NDA and we'll figure it out from there.
Okay, great.
Now, let me ask: were the Assassin's Creed that have taken place, throughout history and throughout stuff, are they always in English?
Uh,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's
Okay.
localization. I mean, those are big games by big companies, so there is localization. But
Yeah.
I don't know if they do lip syncing localization.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I'm trying to
think-
think back to like Odyssey and
And that's what I meant.
Origins.
In their the core like facial animations and stuff like that in English. That's what I was asking. And the reason why I bring it up is because if like for most other languages, I don't know, it doesn't bother me. But for Japanese, it seems like it's maybe it's because of video games. It's more ingrained. Like I'm used to seeing the Japanese language with English subtitles in video games more so than any other language. So it's weird when it's not. You know what I'm saying?
It's all that Yakuza, and that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think
You're
that
getting used
Right?
I think that speaks more to the
Yeah.
games that you play,
Maybe, yeah.
essentially, which is not a bad thing. That's just why you're used to that, I would say.
But if I see
think
something,
also-
someone mentioned like the Norse Assassin's Creed. When I see them speaking English, it doesn't bother me as much. Or if I see like something taking place in like the Middle East or South America or anything like that, it doesn't bother me as much, or it doesn't like stand out to me as much as it does when it's Japanese.
I think it's also because Japanese, like the cadence of Japanese sentences and the way you speak Japanese, like physically, is very different from English. Like it's a pretty distant language in terms of like how words get shaped, and how long sentences are. Like I have the same thing with German. Like if you would have a game in English with like English lip sync and German sentences, like the German will go for like 25 seconds after the sentence ends in English. German is just 70 times longer than like this is a real thing. Like localization companies, like German is error. Like
Yeah.
that's horror. Like every text box is now broken. First time I tried to localize anything, we gave up at German. We had French working. We just looked at German. We're like, you know what?
It's tough.
Let's just do English.
So,
Like, the same-
how big's the German market for our game? Just out of curiosity.
it's smaller than the text box has to be. Oh, okay, well let's not do it then. Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, that's Ghost of Tsushima. We didn't talk story too much. I don't know if we want to. I'm curious. I thought the story was really well done. I felt the latter half of it was better than it's very introductory in the beginning. I feel like you start to understand and really enjoy the characters as the game goes on, which that makes absolute sense. But it really I really enjoyed a lot of the characters in the game, especially some of the side quest characters. They were great. And by the end of it, like it's really tough to talk about, but I'm glad the way that the game ended is the way that it ended, as opposed to
Agreed.
maybe another PlayStation exclusive that didn't have what this one
You know
has.
what? You have this conversation first.
No, we're not going to have it at all because I don't want to spoil viewers.
Oh, we're done.
Yeah, we're
In
done.
fact, I was gonna
We're
say
done.
JP, that's all we should say.
Yeah,
like
that's
let's
all we're
at
gonna say.
least let Zeke kind of get all finished up and
Yeah, for sure.
I'd say that I did not expect this game to punch me in the face as hard as it did. Like that's story wise, that's where I'm at right now. Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm having such a go.
Yeah, they do randomly just bring out some onions multiple times throughout the game. So yeah, and I guess final thoughts will kind of go around. I want to talk some carry on before we jump into the break, and it's a shorter game so we can fill the 20 minutes, but I think everyone thumbs up on it, right? Zeke, are you enjoying it 5 hours in? Are you going to stick with it? Or is it ticking the open world boxes? Like, how do you feel?
I have a little bit of renewed enthusiasm after finding out that it does, like, it might not be as many restarts if I push through, get more power ups, because I barely even dip my toe in the game. Like, I think I found like maybe like 2 foxes in the entire, like, since I've started. I don't even know how to mark progress. I think I'm in the middle of the second, like, multi-step mission or whatever, but that's also because I just wander around and like, oh, there's a question mark. I'm gonna go see what that question mark is. Oh, there's, like you guys were saying. I was gonna chime in, but like you guys were saying exactly what I was gonna say. Like, I also like the difference between open worlds sometimes between like games like Skyrim or Assassin's Creed or whatever. They have that little bar at the top that just has so many little dots on it. I'm just like, that's too many dots.
Yeah.
That's too many things. But then I can look at the map and go, that one thing is the closest to me, and the wind will tell me how to get there.
Yep.
You know, and like, I don't know. It's just that's how my like brain works when it wants to relax. It's like, I don't want all this information. Just tell me one place to go. Okay, there we go. I go there, and it's great. I'm gonna start, like, I'm gonna like use my wits and my bow probably a little bit more from here on until I find something that jibes with me. As far as the story goes, I'm waiting to get, like,
it's a little slow.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get into like the real meat of it. Like, the opening sequence was very fucking cool. But now it's kind of like, I've got this mission. I must protect my Oh, I gotta go save this village. Okay, I'll go save this village real quick.
Yep.
Now I must protect my Oh, fuck. Hey.
Yep. That's the game in a nutshell, man. It really is. You mentioned the opening.
A lot of ways.
I think the title drop, I don't know if it was the same for you guys. I'm actually curious, but that title drop was, for me, like, actually an emotional response, which I usually
10 out of 10.
I think is like a stupid thing to say for just a title card dropping. But when you're running over the field and like the music swells and you see all the fucking amazing flowers and vista and everything, and it's just like Ghost of Tsushima, I'm like, that's fucking good.
Assassin's Creed,
10 out of 10.
Brotherhood, and this game are
Yeah.
my 2 favorite title cards ever. Like,
Yeah. The best part, though, is that you're so into the intro and you're so interested in that title card. Almost, I don't know, a large portion of people that I've watched to see their reactions for it, they don't realize they're controlling the horse. So they just stop mid-stride. I wish they like took over just a little bit longer to make it through the actual title card. Because a lot of times most people just stop in the center of the field and kind of look around for a second instead of continuing. But yeah, I think it's a great game. Definitely one hell of a way to send off kind of the PS4 from a first party side of things. So definitely good. Let's talk carry-on here before we jump into a break. I think it's a, what, 4-hour game? Cohh, did anyone else play besides
4
Cohh?
hours. Yep.
Was anyone else
3.5,
playing
4
carry-on?
hours.
Okay, so it's just Cohh.
I haven't picked it up yet.
Yeah, Cohh, you're gonna have to tell me. There's a 30-minute VOD here. Is this the end of the game?
Oh yes, probably.
Okay,
Because basically I played a bunch of Carrion, and I was like, man, this is really fun. I'm having a great time. And then it was like, okay, we're doing like Jeff Keighley's pre-show thing for the Xbox event. I was like, oh, we're gonna check that out. So I switched over and I watched it for like maybe 5 minutes, and it was Jeff Keighley and like 3 YouTubers I'd never heard of, and they were just talking, and I was like, this is not what I thought. I'm gonna go play more Carrion, yay! And I went and then finished Carrion.
Did you delete that VOD?
So that's we deleted the portion of the VOD that I think had all that out of there.
All right, that's why it's not there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't quite what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Carrion is really cool. It's a little tough to recommend for the price at like under 4 hours, but The control scheme is incredibly unique. The concept is incredibly unique. The puzzles got pretty fun towards the end. So the one thing that was a little not disconcerting, but a little unfortunate is the puzzles towards the end get good. And they're relatively simplistic up until that point. And I feel like the devs were really starting to get into some interesting territory as the game got to an end. And then it was like, and you're done. Which I could have played this game another 4 hours and been fine. Like it was really cool seeing the progression of the monster. It's not just like you start as a monster and that's it. Like there's different abilities you get, there's different ways to interact with the environment. There's like 3 different stages, and you have to bounce between the stages because other stages have different of effects on the environment and how it works. But it was really cool, and it definitely the feeling of just being this giant amorphous blob of like the thing like creations was really really engaging and interesting.
I'm watching you move through these maps, levels, zones, whatever. Are these already cleared? Is that why they're so barren?
Yes, there's portions of this game like this. I just got to a new area in this one.
Okay.
A big part of the game is like getting a new ability or unlock, and then you kind of move back through the level and open up something that you weren't able to get into before, and then kind of start moving through there. Yeah.
How much of that we were talking about this game before it was released, and talking about how much it might be like a stealth game in terms of the ability to like take over a humanoid or whatever. How much of the gameplay is that, and how much of the gameplay is what we're seeing here? Of the 4 hours,
I'd say like under 10% probably the gameplay was taking over other people.
That's good.
That's where the gameplay really got kind of interesting though, because you could take over different types of people. You'd be able to use their weaponry, kind of like stealthily move them around between their people, and get behind them and then flamethrower them and stuff like that. So I actually enjoyed that part of the game a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Are there boss battles, or is it just kind of like map exploration and like map challenges, map puzzles?
Say exploration. There are definitely combat portions where the combat is definitely more intense, like flying drone areas. You fight kind of like larger scale robotic enemies and things of that nature. Not really any kind of like traditional boss fights. It's mostly kind of an exploration game where you're just kind of being this creature. The movement system is really good. So it feels natural. It's fun to bounce around. Like it's super easy to get from point A to point B, and kind of like watch your creature organically figure out how to get there. It's always a good time. But yeah, it was mostly like small combat encounters every so often.
Someone in the chat said that a publication got lost with no map system. I didn't know there was no map system. Did you find that to be the case as well for you, or was it confusing?
Not too bad. I mean, the kind of the test, or the thing that kind of keeps you moving forward is whenever you get to one of these zones, it'll tell you what's in the previous zone and what you've completed and not completed. So that gives you kind of a good bearing on where to go. Like right there, you can see like 100% breach, 100%. There's I'm highlighting it for you. There you go. But so that kind of gives
good job,
you
Pasco.
But the other, yeah, sure, thanks, Pasco. But the other thing that's kind of the biggest directional flag is pretty much 90% of the time, up until an actual point at the end where I was a little bit lost at the very end of the game because I didn't really put A and B together and what the game was telling me on where to go. And then after I did that, I was like, oh, of course. But the big thing is you move through a level and you'll get like an ability, like a way to do something that you haven't been able to do before. And 9 times out of 10, all you have to do is go back a little bit, and something you passed is how you progress with that ability. So as long as you kind of keep that in mind, like the game kind of walks you through that kind of mechanic the first few times. And once you get that going, it's kind of just like, okay, well, I just got to this dead end. I just got this ability. So let's go back and specifically look for a way to utilize this ability and move forward. And 90% of the time, it's exactly what you would do. There was like 1 or 2 times where you had to go back a little further than maybe it would have been good. But at the same time, none of those parts held me up. Like, I'm not exactly the most intelligent gamer.
Sure.
So I think that worked. It was fine overall, I'd say.
Yeah. $20 price tag you mentioned at the start. Wait for it to go on sale or use Game Pass. Is that your advice there?
Yeah, it was really fun and it was very unique, but at the same time, there's no question when I finished it, I was kind of like, I wanted a lot more than that. Like I feel if this was like a 6 to 8 hour game, then the uniqueness would probably kick it over. But at 3.5 hours, and let's be real, I could have beaten it probably around 3.
Dang.
If I had been focused a little bit more. It's just a little tough to recommend for that.
Looking what Go,
So
go ahead,
basically, if
Robbie.
you're the kind
It's
of
Game
person that
Yeah, Game Pass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you-
yeah.
if you're on Game Pass, you're good. If you're the kind of person that spends $7 an hour for a good time, then do that. Otherwise, wait until it goes on sale. That's kind of what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
if 7 hours is your target, then I'd say this is fine. I normally, as weird as this sounds, I normally put my good time value at about 2.
Don't say it like
So
that.
that's when it.
Don't say
I
it
know,
like
right? That's when my good time value. That's when a game becomes like an easy recommendation for me. If I can get like $2 an hour, just like my real life for fun activities, then I think that's when it's an easy recommend for me.
Yeah.
The higher that gets, then the more it becomes like you need to really be looking for something in that title. Yeah, if you're at $7, if you're a $7 an hour kind of guy, if that's what gets your rocks off, then I'd say then this is just fine.
The
All right.
language choice is just. Oh, you're nailing it, dude. Nailing it.
I'm learning from the best, man. It's that osmosis over almost 250 episodes. Zeke. It's slowly
And
rubbing
Rami,
Rami
is
left his
out.
box. God damn it, guy. We're not going to be able to get him back inside of his box. Oh, he's back. Okay. Jeez. All right. Well, that's carry on. Anything you guys want to fit in 5 minutes in terms of games you've been playing? I'm trying to think. I'll probably spend it.
off. Oh,
Go ahead.
I got a quick one.
Yeah.
This isn't really like a new one. We've talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
I am back in No Man's Sky, and man, I tell you, that game has come a long way. Like I just tweeted this out a few days ago. Like at this point, No Man's Sky for me, if you are into that kind of gameplay, easy recommendation. Like easy. It is. There's so many things you can do in it now. Like 6 different vehicles. The base building has been expanded. You can grow your own ship. There's derelict freighters and stuff now. Like No Man's Sky has become. It has gone from like a somewhat collection of half-finished ideas in a framework that's not realized to like an actual developed game with lots of different ways to play it. It has gotten a lot better. So I keep getting this question over and over during my playthrough, and I'll just go ahead and put it to bed now. Yes, if you own No Man's Sky or Game Pass, I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass now, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
Then and you played it a long time ago, absolutely start up a new one and play it again. Like no question, try it again. If you had even a little bit of fun back in the day, try it again.
Yeah, honestly, even if the old sort of like Zen version of No Man's Sky that came out originally, even if that's your thing, you can still do that. Like I think that's
Absolutely.
they did such a good job of expanding it so much without forcing you to engage with everything. If you just want to fly around and go to some planets, still do that.
Yeah. Cohh, I want to.
I mean, now like the main hub is multiplayer. They've completely changed the main hub, so you fly into like the main story hub now, and there's just a bunch of other players running around. There's tech trees, full tech trees now for all the different things. The building system's completely revamped and a huge amount better. You can have underwater aquatic bases and stuff now.
Dang.
Build mechs, build floating like tank things, giant transporters. They even put in like automation stuff, so you can actually like find like mineral rich areas and drop down things to just continually extract resources, and you can automate that in your whole base using different free building stuff. So it's come a super long way. And it's also co-op now. There's dailies and weeklies and stuff you can do. Like it's big.
Weird. Huh. Okay. I was going to ask when you first initially said to play it, if you like games like this, what this game is like, because it seems to be a combination of so many different things. But
I got the question a lot during the survival kick that I was on with like Green Hell and Raft and things like that. I wouldn't go as far as calling No Man's Sky a survival game like those, but what I would say is it's similar to those games if you were to sub survival for exploration. No Man's Sky is an exploration game. It's an exploration game that makes it extremely easy to not explore if you don't want to, because basically any station you visit now, you can just warp between it. You set up a base anywhere you are in the galaxy, you can warp back to your base super easily. So it's this game where you can constantly go any direction you want to. There's thousands of different things to see and do, but at the same time, it's really easy to get back exactly where you want to be. So it's mostly exploration, but you can also make it about base building. You can make it about grouping with friends. You can make it about going out on the daily adventures with your buddies. Like it's sandboxy. It's very explore sandboxy. And if that's the kind of thing you're into, like you'll have a lot to do here.
have you? I mean, you've put probably what 100 hours into this game in total after all the times you've gone back to it. Would you say?
More than that, yeah, probably.
Have you ran into anyone else's stuff, like named things yet in that 100 hours?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
But you can have community planets now. So what a lot of people
Oh.
do is they'll actually pick a planet and you can like send out your troops and you can all build there together. Apparently there's still some pretty big issues with like the pop in and loading once you start getting like lots of player structures near each other, kind of understandably. But I think as we get close to the end of my NMS playthrough, we are going to try to like find a planet and bring out anyone who wants to and have some fun building.
Cool. What is this game? What are they charging for this these days?
Oh, and actually, I haven't run into another player, but in the system I'm in that I chose to build my base in, somebody did wander by and actually discover like the main planet in that system. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So we did have paths cross at one point.
Yeah. No Man's Sky's $60 on Steam. Is it? I feel like that's.
I think it's Game Pass.
Yeah,
so,
Game Pass is probably where anyone. If you just get Game Pass already, I feel like we're just an advertisement for Game Pass. But
we're done. Like the games and the idea of selling games to people is done. It was great. Yeah. We had a good time. Like we're gonna sell games to companies now. I don't know what it's gonna do.
Genre. Yeah, I spend $5 on my RPG a month and $5 on my Souls-like and $10 on my Tetris-likes.
It's it's pretty interesting that it actually took as long as it did for MMOs to kind of die off. In essence, they're not completely. They're dead is a weird word to use there, but to not become as big as WoW once was, I guess is the best way to put that. Yeah. And then for the game industry to take that business model and make it about games. Because essentially it's the MMOification of video games.
Right? Here's the thing, we didn't. Like the games industry didn't, the platforms did, right?
Yeah.
They realized that being the middleman, like they looked at Valve and they were like, well, shit, these people are making a lot of money for not making video games. And they just went like, well, can we do that? And they just made a business model. For me as an independent developer, I still have a lot of question marks. Like iOS just screwed over every developer out there with the Apple Arcade thing, because they said, "Oh, we're gonna fund like more risky game and more experimental games. So if you have something cool, come to us." And now they kind of went like, "Well, it turns out those don't make a lot of money. Like not a lot of people play those. So we're just gonna do Flappy Bird, I guess." The risk we run with centralizing this much power is that if they decide that they don't want the games that we like making, then there won't be a way to sell games. Like the hope that we have, a lot of developers' hope right now is that Game Pass will convince people to play a lot of those games, but then have more money to buy independent stuff. Right? For us as indies, that's the hope, because you're not spending $120 on AAA games. You might buy a number of indie games.
That's the hope. Do you think that's likely?
No. My guess is that people will have so much shit to play that they'll just play what is on there, and it'll really be about whether you can land a deal with Microsoft or with whoever else is going to have a similar platform. But yeah, no, I mean the hope is always that people will buy stuff that's good.
Sure.
But if there's so many games right now that there's always going to be good within the thing you're already paying for. So it's kind of spooky. Like honestly, it's a little scary for us as independent developers, because if the people at Microsoft don't happen to like the weird bug shooting game that we're making, then I guess selling it to consumers is going to get a little hard.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like
weird bug shooting game, Devolver will call you shortly.
That's a Devolver game.
I said Devolver's so weird. Like, we were their first indie game
with
Serious Sam the Random Encounter.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
We're actually on the front page of Wikipedia with that today. I heard earlier today.
That game is on the front page?
That game is on the front page of Wikipedia because there's a stupid story about that. Because we are we still on there? They might have updated it. When Devolver reached out to us, they'd never done an indie game before. So we thought they were just a bunch of suits, because the only game they'd published until that point was Serious Sam, and that's like AA. But both me and my co-founder, JW, we really like Serious Sam. So when they came to us and said, like, you should make a Serious Sam spin-off, we thought they just wanted us to reskin a game and that they were a bunch of dudes in suits. So we came up with this plan. Right? We had this brilliant plan. We said, what we're going to do is we're going to pitch the stupidest idea and they'll say no. Because that way we don't have to say no to a Serious Sam game because 14-year-old would murder me. But we also don't have to work with these suits. So we pitched them a turn-based RPG, which if you know Serious Sam, that's like the opposite of what it is.
Yeah.
And Nigel Lowry at Devolver just sent back like, yes, good. If you think it'll work.
Yeah, you didn't know.
Like,
you didn't know what Devolver was actually about.
No, we had no idea. Nobody knew what it was.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what they were. Like,
Yeah.
we just knew that. Like, we Googled their names, and you got a bunch of like old publishers that were all a little iffy.
Yeah.
And then you just look at them, and you're like, I don't think I want to work with these guys. They turned out to be great. We connected them with the Hotline Miami guys, and like seeing them explode has been really cool.
Yeah. They have definitely exploded.
They've done good work.
The forefront of. Do you even call them is Devolver indie still, or have they evolved?
I don't know.
I don't know if they
kind of their own
want
thing.
to be indie. Like, I think they just want to be Devolver. Like, I think they're sort of like branching out a little. But like, I mean, they play the game well, right? Like, good brand, good portfolio, like very good to work with for independent developers.
That's good.
But
That's good to hear.
They too, honestly, they're in the same boat. Like, Game Pass is going to define their business model for the future. Like, these subscription models are going to define their business model for the future.
I'm glad you went back to the Game Pass because I know we're due for a break, but I wanted to talk about this a bit more. Do you think it's going to go the way of like where we're at now, where cable television eventually died off and now we're just kind of right back where we started in terms of all these different subscription services? Are we going to have a Steam Pass, a Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, whatever? Like, is that all going to become a thing again?
They're all going to try.
Yeah.
Like, you would be ridiculous not to try, right? Like, what is like the two things everybody's going to try: subscription and streaming. Even though Stadia is like in a little iffy place, like if they pull it off, that's it. They win, right? Like, people are still very skeptical about it, but like the promise of gaming anywhere on any screen with any game that is in your subscription, that's it. Like, that's what those companies want. The corporate parts of the games industry just want you to subscribe to a thing so that they always have money coming in.
Right. It's a monthly thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like Microsoft is getting money whether you're paying or not.
Do you think
you're probably playing games? But
do you think I was listening to some other people talk about Game Pass? Do you think that Xbox now with Game Pass and whoever else jumps on the subscription-based stuff, do they start releasing games on a schedule where like every month you have a big thing to play? Does that start to alter how games are released and when they're released?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think ultimately the idea is to offer you enough value for your $15 that you always feel like this subscription is worth it, right? And if you are getting $15 times 10 million a month, you can make some video games. Like that, that's at 10 million.
You can't make Star Citizen. All right, let's just be clear. You can make some video games, not all video games.
You could make Star Citizen if it was managed. Now, you know what? Let's not shit talk. But
oh my
there we
God!
go.
Stay tuned for Rami.
This is worse than the NDA break.
Rami's got a new game coming out called Burning Bridges. Stay tuned. It's gonna hit Steam soon.
Pictured Rami walking down a hall in his house and like opening up a door and like demons and tentacles come out. He's like, "Oh no, never open that door."
Oh my God.
Anyway,
let's rewind the reel.
Okay.
Roll it back.
Can we do the break?
Let's take a break. We need a break here, guys. It's we've been going for about an hour and a half, so we're due for a break.
It's getting too spicy in here.
Yeah. It's actually, you've got some red. You've got some red lighting in the room. I don't know what's happening, but
I do. This is the effect Rami has on me right here. It's getting like hot.
Yeah.
Can't do this.
It's crazy. All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll come back. We still got Fall Guys to talk. We've got Grounded to talk. I started playing Minecraft, the latest and greatest video game. So we'll talk about that. Zeke hosted an indie thing yesterday. I'm curious to get his thoughts on that, and also see what was announced or what was shown. So we'll get all that and more right here on Drop Frames right after this when we come back from the break. We'll see you then.